Good evening and welcome back to Yin Yoga with Kalia. Tonight we're going to be working on some more peaceful yin poses. If you're new to yoga or yin yoga in particular, yin yoga is a slower practice. We're not going to be moving so much through a yoga flow, but rather we're going to be getting into certain poses and then holding those poses for longer. Typically we hold poses for 3 to 5 minutes in yin, although I don't count that I don't count that vigorously. I just kind of count the breaths and kind of go from there. So some poses will hold a little bit longer than others. It's not a hard, fast 3 to 5 minute rule. Rather, we're just kind of focusing on our breath and holding poses for enough time that we're getting the benefit of stretching and opening up some of our muscles and really letting gravity kind of help us in terms of, coming into a full pose or the deepest pose that we're able to in our practice. So that being said, what we shouldn't ever feel is any pinching, any pulling, any sort of pain. We will feel stretching, but stretching is much different from pain. So make sure you're listening to your body. Make sure you're listening to what's right for you in your practice tonight, and go from there. So if you're in a pose and you're not comfortable and it's more than a challenging stretch, I urge you to back out of that pose, and I'll show you some ways to do that. You'll notice I also have some pillows here. That's kind of all I had on hand. So if you want to take a moment to grab some pillows or blankets or even cushions, we've used couch cushions before. Any kind of soft but supportive prop will help us get into some of the more challenging poses that we might need a little bit of help with. And, we'll talk about that when we get to those. So we're going to start in a cross-leg position. Now you can start in just a regular cross-leg position, which, we used to call in school Indian style. Cross-leg position, I think, is what they call it now. Or we can move into lotus. So to get into lotus, what you do is you're going to take one foot over the opposite thigh, and you're going to take the other foot over the other thigh, so that we're kind of you can kind of see we're in like a crisscross, almost little pretzel type pose with our legs and our feet. So what this does automatically, and I don't know if you can notice just by looking at me, it forces us to sit up a little bit straighter and taller. So this is a good pose to practice to help with our posture. So not only is it opening up some of our hip joints, it's stretching our legs, creating some flexibility in our lower limbs and hip area, but it's also forcing us to sit up nice and straight and tall. So that's one of the big things that I'll keep saying throughout our practice too, is to check in with your spines, make sure we're sitting up nice and straight and tall, because the better posture we keep in our practice, the better our posture is going to be throughout our daily life. And the better our posture is just ongoing, the less back pain we're going to have, the less neck pain we're going to have, the less tension headaches we're going to have, which I know I get a lot of those, and so I'm sure a lot of you guys do too, especially in some of the stressful times that we've been having. So proper body alignment is really, really important. So we'll talk a little bit about that throughout our poses too. So whatever seated position you choose, we're going to stay here for a couple breaths, and all we're going to do is focus on our breath first. So our hand position can be various things. We can have our hands just resting, facing up on our knees. We can take our thumb and our middle finger together in the typical kind of meditation pose. We can bring our hands to heart center if we want to maybe take a quiet moment to set an intention. I always urge people to set an intention for their class or their practice. An intention can be whatever you want it to be. It can be giving thanks for showing up here today. It can be gratefulness for something you accomplished today. It can be a hope for perhaps a loved one that's going through difficult times, and that's your intention to send some healing energy to them. So an intention is whatever you want it to be. It's whatever has inspired you to show up tonight, to get on your mat, to work on your practice, and to work on, bettering your life, yourself, and others around you. So when I say intention, that's kind of what I'm talking about. So that being said, I would urge you to find a comfortable seated position, lotus, half lotus, cross-leg position, a comfortable position with your hands. And we're either going to gaze down towards our mat. Our gaze in Sanskrit is called our drishti. So I urge you to find a spot in front of you that can be your drishti point. That's a spot that you can come back to easily and focus your gaze upon. In this breathing exercise, you can also close your eyes if you choose to. So we're just going to start by taking some long, slow inhales. And then letting go of long, slow exhales. Now you can go ahead when you're exhaling and open your mouth and kind of exhale through the mouth. Or you can also practice what is called Ujjayi breath, and I'll show you what that one sounds like. It looks pretty much the same, but it sounds a little bit different. And in this one, we're not opening our mouth. So what we're doing is we're kind of forcing the air out through the back of our throat, and you'll hear a different sound. So when we take a deep inhale, that's the same. But hopefully you guys heard that how it was coming more from my throat than out of my mouth. Both, you can do either one. You'll feel a little bit different with each breath. So you can play around with it a little bit. Maybe do an exhaling breath with open mouth breath, switching to the Ujjayi breath. If you are ever taking like a vinyasa class or a flow class, Ujjayi breath is usually the breath that most of us come back to when we're doing kind of rapid changes of poses or positioning. So we're just going to take a few more breaths, let's say maybe 5. So we'll start at 5 and count back down, each inhale being 1. And go ahead and exhale with whatever breath you feel comfortable with. This is 3. And 1 more. Very good. So we can open our eyes if they aren't already open. We can bring up our gaze if we were gazing towards the ground. And we're going to, if we're in lotus, we're going to untangle our legs, helping them out, and just come into an easy seated position. So we're going to do a little bit of stretching now, and we're going to start with our neck. Our neck is where we hold a lot of tension. A lot of tension in our neck can lead to headaches, and it can also kind of just travel down our back and lead to a lot of back problems, back pain, things like that. So one thing I like to do at the beginning of a yin practice is to kind of just do some simple neck stretches. So what we're going to do is we're going to check in with our body first. We're going to be sitting up nice and straight and tall, spine straight. We can almost even imagine like an imaginary string just pulling our spines up towards the ceiling. And that'll kind of remind us to sit up nice and straight and tall. We want our shoulder blades back. We want our chest open. We want to make sure we want our heart to be as open as possible throughout most of these poses. We're going to work on keeping our heart chakras open. So to get started with our stretch, we're going to take a nice deep inhale and bring your arms up to the sky and really kind of stretch here, looking up towards your fingertips. You will feel a little bit of stretch or pressure kind of at the bottom of your shoulder blades, and that's okay. As long as it's not pinching, pulling, hurting, a stretch is good. So looking up towards those fingertips, we're going to leave our right arm up, and we're going to float our left arm down to the mat. And then once our hand is down next to us, we're going to curl that right arm around our head, resting just at the top of the left ear, and then we're going to gently help our head over to the right hand side. And now you may want to play with the position a little bit because it depends which way you tilt your head, what kind of stretch you're going to get, or where you need that stretch. So make sure you listen to your body and find the stretch that's right for you. And if you want to make the stretch a little bit deeper, you can walk that left arm out. You can walk it forward and you'll feel a deeper stretch in certain areas. You can walk it backwards, almost coming behind you, and you'll feel a different stretch. So wherever the stretch is right for you today, that's where we're gonna hold it for a few breaths. So we'll try 5 breaths here as well. All right, one last deep inhale here. And exhale, bringing ourselves back to center, back to neutral. Good job. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. And again, don't be afraid to try to switch up your positions, moving the hand back and forth. You'll really notice a difference in where it's stretching your neck. And it's not gonna be the same spot for all of us where we need a stretch. So listen to your bodies, listen to what feels right for you, and be very careful with our bodies telling us that it's too much. Okay, so inhale, reaching arms up, really stretching, looking up at the sky. We can even interlace our fingers for a little bit deeper stretch. Maybe lean from side to side. Very good. We're going to leave the left arm up this time. The right arm floats down to the mat. And then our left arm curls around to come to our right ear and then help our neck over. Now you may notice that one side is a lot tighter than the other. You may not. You may feel that they're about equal. But just take a moment to find that spot that's right for you. And then we'll stay here for another 5 breaths. One last deep inhale here. And exhale, coming back up to center. Good job. All right, a couple more stretches that we're gonna do. So first we're gonna change our foot leg position. So we're gonna come into what is called Gomukhasana, or open cow face pose. I know that's a really hard one to remember, but cow face pose is how we can easily remember it by. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start with this right leg again. Our left leg is gonna more or less stay where it's at, maybe come a little bit more streamlined center. Our right leg is gonna come over the left leg so that our knees are pretty much stacked on top of each other. Now, if this is a difficult position for you, don't worry. You can always come out of it a little bit by bringing that right leg out. And if you need some extra support, you can grab your pillows, bolsters, blankets, couch cushions, whatever you have, and we can do something like this to help with, so that that leg doesn't just feel like it's floating. And if we have any sort of pain in that ankle or anything, this way we're totally supported in this pose, okay? So that's one modification for that. Don't be afraid to use props. There's nothing wrong with using props. We want you to use props versus pushing yourself too far and potentially getting injured, because that's not gonna help anyone. So we have our legs stacked, or we're in our modified position, and our right leg is on top. So our right arm is gonna come out first. Our left arm is gonna come under it, just like our left leg is under, and it's gonna come up to kind of a 90-degree angle here. So making a little kind of a backwards L maybe. And then our right arm is gonna come up, and then they're gonna go past each other and then come back together so that our palms are touching, if we can. If not, we can stay here. This is perfectly fine. But if we can go a little bit past and then bring our palms together, see, our palms are together. Then what we're gonna do is lift up. We want our elbows pretty much in line with our shoulders if we can. And we're gonna take a few breaths here. This is kind of a challenging one. This is a really big stretch on our shoulder blades. You can Just trying to show you guys kind of what it looks like from the side. All right, we're gonna start with taking 5 breaths here. Ready? One more. All right, we can go ahead and release. We release the arms. We might want to shake them out a little bit. Shake out our shoulders, maybe roll our shoulders up and back. We can release our legs and actually bring them out in front of us and kind of give those a shake, bringing our knees up and down and just kind of shake everything out from all those stretches. All right, so the next thing is the opposite side. So our right leg is going to come in like we're getting into cross-legged position. Again, we want it kind of straight out in front of us if we can keep that aligned and if our body is okay with that tonight. And then we bring our left leg over the right so that our knees are stacked. You can see they're pretty much stacked there so that we're all in alignment. Again, this is perfectly fine if this is where we're at tonight. Make sure that we're supporting our joints if we need to. So listen to your body with that. If this feels okay, you're more than welcome to stay here. Otherwise, if this feels okay, then you're more than welcome to stay here. So we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So because the left leg's on top, we're going to bring our left arm out first. Our right arm is going to come underneath the left and bend upwards. Left arm bends up, cross each other, and then palms meet together. Ready? See that? Palms are together. And so then we're going to bring our arms up a little bit because we want them at the level of our shoulders so that we get that nice shoulder stretch. And we'll go ahead and take 5 breaths here. Ready? One more. All right, go ahead, untangle and relax. Shake out those shoulders, maybe rotating them back and forth, up and down, up and back. Stretch out our legs out in front. Give them a little shake. And while we have our legs out in front, we're gonna work into forward fold. So you shouldn't really need any props for this. I just want you guys to really listen to your body and not overdo it. When we forward fold, this is okay. This is a good forward fold. We may want to reach for our toes and kind of pull ourselves down. That's a good forward fold. We may have our heads down and be able to grab onto our feet. That's a forward fold as well. So please don't feel like you have to meet any point either on your mat or your body to come into forward fold, because you absolutely do not. So what we're going to do is sit with our feet straight out in front, and we don't really want our toes pointed unless you feel like you have to. If you have any issues with your feet or anything where it hurts to flex the feet, please feel free to point or however your feet are comfortable. Typically in forward fold, we're flexing the feet. So again, we're sitting up nice and straight and tall, which this can be a little bit challenging in itself in this position. It takes a little bit more back control when we're sitting like this with no support to sit up straight and tall. So take a moment to check in there. And then we're going to inhale and sweep those arms up again. Really nice deep inhale here. And then exhale, we're going to forward fold over our legs. And wherever we land, this is where we're going to stay for a few breaths. So I'm going to hold on to my big toes. I'm going to take these 2 fingers on each hand, kind of hook them around my big toe, and then that can help me pull down. Okay, so we're going to stay here for a minute or so. So try to get comfortable with where you're at.
Don't be afraid to change position if you need to. I just changed my hand position here. Remember to keep with your breath, taking long, slow inhales, letting out long, slow exhales, either through the mouth or through our ujjayi breath, which is that breath that we exhale through the back of our throat. All right, one last deep inhale here. And exhale, we're going to slowly walk ourselves back up to center. Very good. You might want to shake out those legs again. Now, before we move from this position, we're going to do one more kind of stretch, another side stretch. So you want both feet out in front again. And we'll start with our right leg this time. So our right leg, we're going to bend into our chest, and then we're going to help it just come over that left leg. Just a little bit above the knee. And then our right arm is going to come back and around so that it's pretty much at our low back. Our left arm lifts up and then comes down on the other side of that right knee. And then what we're going to do is turn towards the right to look over our shoulder. And we'll just stay here for a few breaths, probably not a full minute. One more deep breath here. And exhale, release. Now, for those of you who are curious, or those of you that are working on some binds at home or within your own practice, the bind for this pose is to bring this arm, so this arm is already like this, it's to bring it around this leg, so that's at like your lower back, and then to bring the right arm around and to meet it. And to keep sitting up as straight as possible. So this is the bind for this side stretch. It's a little bit challenging, but if that's something that you guys want to start practicing on, that's how that goes. Okay, so I'm going to turn around, so we're going to do the other leg. So this time we have our right leg extended. We're going to bring our left leg into the chest, help left leg over the right leg, bring our left arm around and back to be right about at our low back. Again, sitting up nice and straight and tall. Inhale that right arm up and exhale it across the left arm. So we can always leave the arm down if this feels better. I typically tend to just kind of bring it up like this. And then when you're ready, we just kind of turn and try to gaze over that left shoulder. And this is where we'll hold for a few breaths here. One more nice deep inhale here.
And exhale, release, coming back to center. And again, if you want to see that bind one more time, we would be straightening out the right hand, bringing our right arm around, pretty much to come to our back. You can see I'm not as flexible on this side, and bringing our left arm around to meet it. That's that. So for those of you working on a bind, that's how we do that. All right, so go ahead, release everything carefully, bring those legs out in front and really give them a little shake. If we want to do some shoulder circles, kind of loosen up our shoulders a little bit. All right, so our next pose, we're going to do a reclining pose. So you will want to have some sort of pillow or blanket. I'm going to try it with this. I might need both of them though. Actually, I'll just try it with this. We'll try it with this one. Okay, so what we're going to do is, now in my in-person class, I usually give people 3 choices of foot positions for this reclining pose. So the first one is our legs straight out in front, and remember we're reclining, so this takes us into reclining fish pose. So you would recline, and this is more or less fish pose. So that's option 1, okay? Option 2 is we come into Baddha Konasana with our foot position. So Baddha Konasana, I'll turn around so you can see, is another seated position. It's when we bring the feet up, the soles of our feet together, and then we open them up a little bit like a page of a book. So our feet are kind of coming like this. And this is Baddha Konasana. Now our knees may or may not float down to the mat. Mine don't completely. Some people's do if you're more flexible in that hip area. But Baddha Konasana, reclining Baddha Konasana would look pretty much the same. You have your pillow behind you, and then you're reclining. But we're reclining with our foot position like this. And then there's one more. So my favorite one is reclining hero's pose. So to get into hero's pose is like a kneeling type pose. So the easiest way is to bring one foot back, then the other. We're sitting on our heels a little bit. You can see we're sitting on them a little bit. Child's pose, we would have our knees wider apart and be more sitting on the mat. So hero's pose, our knees are together. We're more in kind of a semi-kneeling position. So this is the final position that I would invite you to try to recline with. So same thing, the pillow comes pretty much to our low spine. You might have to adjust your seat a little bit. And then we're going to walk ourselves back into a reclined position. So whichever one you choose, and you're welcome to try out all of them and see which one works best for you or which one feels right for your practice tonight. Our arms are going to come at our sides, or for a deeper stretch, our arms can come up above, and we can take opposite hand to opposite elbows so that they're kind of right above our head. Try to make sure that your head's supported, which this pillow kind of barely catches my head. I'm pretty short though, so you guys might need an additional pillow depending on what you're using. And we will stay here for a minute or so. This is a very restorative type pose. But again, please listen to your bodies. If it becomes too much, please back out of the pose. We can either come back up and come into child's pose, or we can maybe change our leg position. Like if hero's pose is too much for our legs, our thighs up here, because it is a deep stretch right here if you're in hero's pose. Maybe try spreading the knees apart a little bit, and that might lessen it. And if not, you can come out completely and maybe go into fish pose instead, which might be better for you tonight. So wherever you're at, we're going to stay here for a few moments. Remember to take in long, slow inhales. Exhaling, long, slow exhales. We're gonna take one last deep inhale here. And exhale. If our arms aren't already over our head, I invite you to reach your arms up and overhead, maybe interlacing the fingers, really getting a nice deep stretch here. Nice deep inhale. And exhale. All right, we're gonna very, very slowly untangle our legs, coming out of whatever foot position we choose. We're gonna help ourselves up to sitting. Move whatever props we were using out of the way. And we're gonna settle into our final resting pose of Shavasana. So to get into Shavasana, what we're going to do is make sure you have enough room on your mat. Your feet probably wanna be pretty much at the end of the mat. And then slowly help ourselves into a fully reclined position. We're gonna let our feet fall out to the sides. Our arms are gonna be at our sides with our palms facing up. We wanna check in with our shoulder blades, make sure those shoulder blades are flat on our mats. And then we're just gonna start with our breath, focusing on our breath. And as we do, I want you all to just envision a wave of calm cascading over the body, starting at the top of our head and washing down our bodies, one body part at a time. So relaxing all of our face muscles, relaxing all of our neck and shoulder muscles as we feel them sink deeper and deeper into our mats. Washing over our chest, our stomach muscles. We feel our hearts opening more and more as we get more and more relaxed. Our stomach muscles are relaxing, washing over our hip muscles, our hip joints, letting them sink into the mat. Feeling our body just become heavy and grounded into our mats. Letting go of any and all tension in our legs, our spine, our feet, down to the tips of our toes. We are washed over with this warm and calming sense of relaxation. When you're ready, we're going to very, very slowly start to invite the life back into our bodies. We'll start by wiggling our fingers and wiggling our toes. Bringing our arms up a little bit, we'll do some wrist circles, back and forth with our wrists. We'll do some ankle circles, maybe one at a time, maybe together, whichever feels right for you. Just waking up the body, waking up our circulation. When you're ready, we're going to inhale and take a nice deep stretch overhead. Full body stretch like it's the first thing in the morning. We just woke up and we're stretching our entire body, getting us ready for the day ahead. Nice deep inhale here and then just let it out through the mouth. Good job. Now we're going to bend both of our knees, bringing our knees closer to the chest. We're gonna roll onto our right hand side, keeping that right arm up, using it for a moment as a little pillow. And this is what we call a recovery pose. You can stay here for a couple breaths before we sit up. One more. And exhale. Good job. Now we're going to use that left hand to just very gently help ourselves back up to seated. And we'll meet again in a seated position of your choice on our mats. And I invite you to bring our hands to heart center. Our gaze is either looking down or we can close our eyes completely. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for choosing to practice with me tonight. Thank you for getting on your mats. Thank you for giving it your all. And thank you for this energy that you're sending out into the universe. The light in me honors and respects the light in each and every one of you. Namaste. Thank you all so much for practicing with me tonight. I hope everyone feels stretched and relaxed and rejuvenated at the same time. Yin practice is an excellent, excellent tool to help us with stress management, to help us with any sort of anxiety that we might be feeling throughout the day. And it's also a very good practice for our physical health and has many, many restorative qualities, including increased circulation, increased flexibility, less chance for injury. All of these things are just some benefits of Yin Yoga. So I hope that you will join me next time. Again, I am Miss Kalia, and I will see all of you very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.